Are you getting ready to turn 65 and maybe Medicare has you really stressed? Listen to this episode. We have a specialist that's going to help you think it all the way through.
To learn more about how to secure your retirement and all the different elements you need to know, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell so you'll be notified when we release episodes every Monday. We have helped hundreds of our clients gain clarity and get on the path to a great retirement. Now it's your turn. Let's dive in.
Welcome to Secure Your Retirement podcast. We are excited today because we've brought back in our very own Sean Southard that works with us here at Peace of Mind, and he really focuses on Medicare planning. And this is a topic that obviously people are very concerned about. And it becomes a big concern usually for folks when they're building up and getting close to turning 65, because that's when you come on to Medicare. Before we kind of get into this, though, thank you very much for coming on, Sean, and helping us think through some of these complex topics around Medicare.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
So there's a key point at which most people are going to get on to the Medicare program, and that is when they turn 65. And there's some things that we have to think about as we lead up to that. That's a very key thing. A lot of stress around that period, usually when people are within a few months, because they're saying, oh my goodness, look at all these plans that are out there. What do I do? Which one should I do? All those kinds of things. And what we would just really want to talk about today is this idea of the turning 65. So I know that whenever we have this period of time, that it sparks what we would call an enrollment period. And there's a few different ones that we need to look at, but let's just kind of go through these step by step, Sean, so that people can kind of understand. So the first thing we'll talk about around this idea of enrollment is the initial enrollment period. Sometimes people use the IEP acronym. Could you kind of walk us through what that is and kind of help us lead up to this idea of turning 65 and Medicare?
Sure. The initial enrollment period, Medicare loves acronyms, of course. So IEP, initial enrollment period, that is a time frame of 7 months or 7-month window. It's the 3 months before the person turns 65, the month they turn 65, and the 3 months after they turn 65. So it's a total of 7 months. And this is a very common time where people, when they're turning 65, this is the enrollment period that they're going to enter into Medicare. And going to apply for their benefits, their Part A, this is the hospital coverage, and Part B, which is their medical coverage.
Okay, very good. So that would be the most common, right? I'm approaching 65. I've heard of this thing called Medicare. Regardless of when you're approaching 65, people start to think of what do I need to do and all these. But there's other enrollment periods too. I know there's a special enrollment period. Can you walk us through that one and how someone would fall into that category?
Absolutely. So special enrollment period, SEP, and this one's becoming even more and more common these days because people are working beyond the age of 65. Many moons ago, people would retire, prior to 65. So the IEP held sway, but now the SEP is becoming even more and more popular. So people that are turning 65 still working, when they eventually retire and come off group coverage at work, group health insurance coverage, they're going to qualify for a special enrollment period. Their IEP most likely will have gone by already. Some people work 66, 67, 68 even, so they're going to be enrolling in what's called a special election period. There's many special election periods. There's probably over 24 types of situations that people can face that would qualify them for an SEP, but the most common one is working beyond 65 and coming off an employer group plan.
And just to follow up on that, because you said the IEP, the initial is a 7-month window, 3 months before the month of you turning 65, and then the 3 months after. Is there a window for the SEP, the special enrollment, or is it, once you retire, you better do this right away, otherwise you may miss it?
Right, great. That's great. Great follow-up. Yes, there is a window that when you retire and you come off a group plan, you have 8 months to be able to enroll in Medicare before there's any penalties or any late enrollment penalties.
All right, excellent. All right, we got one more enrollment period that we're going to talk about, and that's general enrollment period. and I'll let everybody guess what the acronym is. Yeah, we'll go with GEP.
Yeah, absolutely. No tricks there. GEP. That's right. So the GEP, I always say, I've been on this before, and I always use this, people go to Cancun in their mind, some nice place, and they're not really paying attention to what's going on. So if people fall into this category and kind of go to Cancun in their mind and they miss their initial enrollment period, which has happened to some folks. There's some folks who retire and they're not aware of a special. Just people just don't know sometimes. They don't work with a professional and they don't really know what's happening, and they miss all these enrollment periods: initial enrollment period, special election period. They can get into Medicare during the general enrollment period, which is 3 months. It's Jan 1 of every year to March 31, and you can enroll in Parts A and Part B. And luckily, Medicare has changed it. Before, the start date wasn't until July 1st, but now it's the month after you apply. So if you apply in January for your Parts A and B of Medicare, your coverage will start February 1st instead of having to wait until July 1, which used to be the case. So you can still get into Medicare during the general enrollment period. However, depending upon when your initial enrollment period ended or when your special election period ended, when you do come around and enroll into Medicare during the GEP, general enrollment, you may have a late enrollment penalty. It all depends on your situation.
Okay, very good. So let's walk through some common scenarios that you may experience, and because we can talk all day about enrollment periods, but at the end of the day, people are like, how can I relate to this type of scenario? Right. And so let's go with this one. I'm still working and I'm covered under my employer's health plan already, and I'm turning 65, right? What should I be thinking about? What should I be doing as far as this open enroll or these different enrollment periods? I'm still working and covered. Help me, Sean.
Sure. So this is a very common scenario. People are still working. They're approaching their 65th birthday. They're planning on working another year, 2 years, maybe, or even longer, and they have health insurance through work. This is the key. And people, I hope when they're listening to this, will jot this down on a piece of paper in a little notepad. The employer plan has to have 20 or more people enrolled into the plan, not 20 people working at the company, but 20 people actually enrolled into the health plan at work. If that's the case, Medicare allows an exception, and you do not have to enroll into Medicare Parts A or B as long as you're covered under an employer plan of 20 or more enrollees. So you don't have to do anything about Medicare until you're ready to retire. If you have a spouse who may be nested as under your health plan at work of 20 or more enrollees, they too do not have to enroll in Medicare when they turn 65. So that's really important to know. Now, if you work for an employer and the plan has 19 or less enrollees into the health plan, then you will need to enroll in Medicare when you turn 65.
Okay. So now let's go to this another scenario. We'll say somebody's retired, but they have health coverage as a retiree. Can you kind of give us that scenario, what that might be and how that looks?
Sure. So many employers, especially the larger employers, if you retire early before 65, they allow you to keep the coverage going. The state of North Carolina does this for the state employees and the teachers in North Carolina. They can keep that Blue Cross Blue Shield plan going until they turn 65. But at that time, that retiree coverage, even though it was the same coverage you had when you were working, it's going to be secondary to Medicare when you turn 65. So you definitely are going to need to enroll in Parts A and Part B of Medicare. And many of those retiree plans are going to tell you that you need to enroll in A and B. Even if you want to keep it as supplemental coverage, you'll have to be in Medicare A and B at 65.
Okay. I got one more for you. What if I'm still working and I'm approaching 65, but I'm already receiving my Social Security retirement benefits, my monthly check every month, and I'm still working? What do I need to be thinking about there?
Sure. What you need to be thinking about here is if you've been receiving your Social Security retirement benefits or your railroad retirement benefits for at least 4 months, 4 to 6 months, and the money's coming in every month, you're going to automatically be enrolled in Medicare Parts A and B as you approach your 65th birthday. So If you're still working and you want to continue working past 65, as we said earlier, you would want to send this coverage back to Medicare as soon as you get your Medicare card in the mail sent to you. And the biggest reason why is, and I know we'll talk about this probably on another podcast, with the Medigap plans, the Med Supplement plans, there's an open enrollment period for these plans where you don't have to do any medical underwriting for the first 6 months when you get into Medicare. But if you get automatically enrolled, you're not paying attention, and you let that coverage start just even for one day, and you get it back to Medicare, your 6-month window is started already. So 2-3 years down the road, when you actually do retire and you want to get into a Medigap plan, that will have expired for you, and now you're going to have to go to medical underwriting. So you got to be very careful if you are receiving these retirement benefits from Social Security or the Railroad Retirement Board.
All right. So now we've kind of gone through maybe these concepts here and ideas. And so maybe we say, okay, I understand my situation. I'm at a point, one of the enrollment periods, or I'm in a scenario where I now need and understand I qualify and should be enrolling in Medicare. The big question is, hey, Sean, how do I enroll in Medicare?
Right, exactly. Like, how do you do this? Absolutely. So there's a couple of ways you can do it. The easiest way, an easy way to do it is to go through your Social Security Administration portal. And I encourage everyone on the podcast today, if you haven't created your Social Security Administration account electronic portal, please do that. It's myssa.gov, myssa.gov, and you'll go in and you'll create your own access to your Social Security information. And you probably have noticed, the people on the podcast, that those statements you used to get on a regular basis from Social Security that shows all your wages and everything that you've earned and when your full retirement age is and what your benefit amount's going to be, they're not sending those out anymore. You actually have to fill out a form, ironically, to get it sent to you, because they want you to go in and create this account so you can see this information electronically. So Social Security, handles the retirement benefits as well as the administration of Medicare. So create that account, go in there, and when you're ready to enroll, you can do it right from there. Enroll in Medicare Parts A and B right in that portal. That's a good way to do it. Another way is you can go down to any Social Security Administration office in person and enroll. There's an office, they've created a big space now over on Pool Road in Raleigh, and there's one over in Durham as well that you can go in person, and they'll help you. And they can also do telephonic appointments as well.
Okay, very good. Well, I would agree with you. If you create the portal, it's a little bit smoother. You don't have to create the appointment, wait, and have that fear of maybe missing your windows. So the online portal, I think, would be the ideal for most people. So we get that part figured out. But what documents do I need? What forms do I have to have ready to go to make sure this all goes smoothly?
Well, there are some things that you should have readily available just to reference them too, especially doing it online. You're going to need to know your Social Security number. You may have that memorized, but if you don't, obviously your Social Security card will help let you know what that is. Your W-2s, you're going to need to know that because and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, on another podcast, but Medicare premiums, Part B premiums, as well as Part D premiums for the drug plans, those are based upon income. And the more you make, the more you will pay for these premiums. So you're going to need to know, where you fall when you file taxes 2 years prior. So that's good information to have handy and have with you. And of course, proof of citizenship, U.S. citizenship, birth certificate, would suffice. A U.S. passport or any certificates of naturalization would be helpful to have. And then, of course, if you are doing a special election period, we work beyond 65, there is a CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services form that you would need to fill out showing you were covered under employer plan. And I can get people all those forms and get everything that they need when the time comes.
So something, over 20 years ago, I kind of helped people with Medicare, and then I kind of got away from that as I continued to work with people really around the retirement planning. And something that I didn't know until you started with us and started helping clients and me listening to you is that if a person misses these enrollment period and then they decide to enroll later outside of that, there could be penalties for this. Could you kind of walk us through the how the penalties work? Because I think that will just set the theme that we don't want to mess up here and get
Yeah.
ourselves into that situation.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Radon. There are some things in Medicare that once they're done, they can't be undone, as they say. So a mistake that you make can be a lifetime mistake. And these late enrollment penalties are just that. They are mistakes, but they are lifetime. They are monthly, lifetime mistakes. And it's very bad to find yourself one of those situations. So the Part B late enrollment period for your medical coverage in Medicare, how that works is for every 12 months that goes by that you were supposed to be enrolled in Medicare when you were first eligible to do so, it's 10% added on to your Part B premium. And that's monthly for the rest of your life. So if you get a 10% late enrollment penalty and you live for another 22 years beyond that point, you are going to pay that extra 10% every single month for 22 years. Okay. And unfortunately, the government will never send you a thank you note for all that extra money that you've given them. The Part D late enrollment penalty, which is the drug plans, the Medicare drug plans, the late enrollment penalty is 1% per month for every month you were supposed to be enrolled in one in which you were not. So I just was referred someone the other day. They turned 65, enrolled in Medicare, were not taking any prescription medications, said there's no way I'm going to enroll in one of these drug plans because I don't need to do that. And they have premiums. So for 5 years, he was not enrolled in a drug plan, Part D plan, finally had to take prescription medications, needed to get in one. And now he is going to have a 60% late enrollment, Part D late enrollment penalty that's added on monthly for as long as he has the drug plan, which will most likely be the rest of his life. So those are how those penalties work, and they can really add up. So we definitely want to make sure that doesn't happen to you.
Yeah, so, one thing you could do as a listener is you could go and just do all this research yourself and figure out Medicare, become the guru on Medicare yourself and make all those decisions yourself. Or you could say, I don't really want to do all this, and I'd rather much just tap into someone else's knowledge and someone else's experience and expertise. And that kind of ties us back to the name of our company, Peace of Mind Wealth Management. And we're all about securing someone's retirement and making it nice and smooth. That's a big reason as to why we brought Sean on the team to be that Medicare guru for our clients, as well as anyone that's listening that has questions around it. So, Sean, obviously by being contacted, you would make things so much simpler and smoother for them. But give us just a quick little 1 or 2 minutes on what your initial process looks like when you're meeting someone for the first time.
Yeah, my process is as my grandfather always said, that acronym KISS, right? We're going on acronyms again, right? Keep it simple, Sean, right? Keep it simple, Sean, all right? And so that's what I aim to do every time I meet with people is to take, because this is a very complex topic and subject, and people are very anxiety ridden over it and have a lot of panic points with it. So I try to just remain calm and keep things simple as possible. I meet them where they are and just say, okay, well, if you're still working, I just take them through, okay, how much longer are you intending on working? Kind of give me that timeline, and then we break it down from there. And I have a nice little flow chart that I've created a number of years ago that I think I'm a visual learner, so I think it really helps people to visualize the foundation of Medicare and what different pathways they can take. So we'll go over that so they understand what their options are. And I have all kinds of great software and tools here that we can take a look at that's going to help break down, different Medigap plans that they may be looking at and price structures and advantage plans. If that's what they're interested in, we can break those down and look at that. And then also help them with their premiums, what they're going to pay. And we go over IRMA. I know we talked about on other podcasts, the income related monthly adjustment amount. The more you make, the more you pay. We go through that and just say, hey, I'm here as a resource, anything that you need. Just keep it as simple as possible. And I'm here to follow up and be with you. I can get on phone calls with human resource departments, when they need to talk to their plan administrators at work or for their retiree coverage, whatever's needed, I'm here to be able to do that for people to make this as seamless as possible for them.
Sounds great. Well, if you do want to talk to Sean, you can give him a call here at the office, which is 919-787-8866, or you can email him, which is Shawn, spelled SHAWN at pomwealth.net. Either one of those, and he would be glad to hop on a call with you, walk you through this, even if you just got some questions. So thank you very much, Sean. We appreciate you coming on with us today.
Thank you so much.
We hope this video has given you some confidence and clarity as you plan for a worry-free life in retirement. But what else do you need? We have created a complimentary video course called 3 Keys to Secure Your Retirement. This video walks you through step-by-step what you need to do to get ready for retirement. You can also check out our podcast called Secure Your Retirement. You can subscribe below.
For more retirement tips, check out these videos. Also, if you find them valuable, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and give us a like.